Love, love, Lord, till I be but breath of thy spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. I'm Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Fred Mawanda. He's from Uganda and he's going to share his faith journey. Hi Fred, good to meet you. Tell me a bit about your background. And you come from Uganda and you've grown up and how,
Yeah, I've grown up, born and raised in Uganda. I've lived in Uganda all my life and my parents. I grew up in a family of 11 children.
Wow.
7 brothers and 3 sisters. I grew up as a Catholic all my life. But there was a difference that I realized when I became a teenager.
Yes.
And I joined the university and I was seeking for sense of purpose and meaning in life, and if God was really real or God was just an idea.
So that those thoughts came to you when you were in university.
Yes.
You got challenged, and what sort of made you start thinking that? Was there something that happened that made you to start thinking about God and whether it's real?
I think it is a basic human question, a point in life where a person asks himself, what is my life all about? Is there more to life than just walking on earth and going away? And so I had these questions as a young man, but providentially God led me to a situation that led me to believe in Him, to trust in Him, and that journey started then when I was at the university. And what was providential really about it, that I always went for Mass. And this particular Sunday, soon after Mass, the priest asked, if you want to pray a little more, please come in the evening. And the priest who said this was a Jesuit professor of chemistry and not religious studies. So I turned up in the evening, and then we were just 6 of us. And then he started teaching us about the love of God in what has come to be known as the Life in the Spirit seminar. And through the Life in the Spirit seminars, which lasted 8 weeks, I came to know that God was real, that God loved me. For the first time in about 7 years, I went to the sacrament of reconciliation. And the priest laid hands on me to be filled with the love of God. And the love of God filled me. And not only that, I had physical ailment on my skin that had lasted with me for 3 years. When the priest asked me, is there anything else that is disturbing your life? I said, maybe this skin disease. I had felt that I had totally surrendered my life to God. Now, without expecting anything spectacular, the priest prayed for me to be healed. And in 3 days, the skin ailment that I had disappeared.
Wow.
And for me, it was like an added bonus. I had already received a conviction, a sense of purpose and a fulfillment in my life that led me to believe in God. I had a joy that freed me.
Wow.
I was a very silent person.
Yes.
To the extent that my father sometimes used to say, you are as silent as a desk.
Oh, silent as a desk.
Yes, because I was so quiet. But this love of God freed me, opened me up like a person who had been closed for a very long time. And I came to know God.
Wow, that's fantastic. Did you find that it made you then talk a lot more after, is it?
Yes, it helped me to become more who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, more
I had
open.
perceived myself in another way, but the love of God freed me to become more, or to start the journey to become everything that God has created me to be and to do.
Yeah, and you talked about the sacrament of reconciliation. What's that?
Sacrament of reconciliation is when you come to your senses in a way and acknowledge before God that I am a sinner and that I need God's love and mercy in my life. and that Jesus died for my sins, and I cannot solve the situation around my life and my sins unless I go to God. And for us in the Catholic faith is to go before a priest who represents Jesus, to listen to your confession and to pray for you for God's blessing and forgiveness.
Yes, so was it a feeling of guilt, freedom, or how did it feel like?
Before I came to know that I had sinned against God. And then, but the love of God was available for me, and the mercy of God was available for me, and it was to appropriate it. It was to make use of this love of God. So I went to the sacrament of reconciliation to be able to receive everything God has promised me as a result of His forgiveness.
And how did you feel after you received that forgiveness?
I felt like a bird that had been caged and had been freed now. And I was flying in my spiritual life. And that didn't only end in the spiritual life. It was also in my human relationships. It was also in my understanding of myself. I had a very bad relationship with my father because he was very tough, and he had really disciplined me strongly, and so I could hardly speak to him. But after experiencing the love of God the Father, I was now able to relate better with my earthly father, and also to speak a little more to people and build relationships.
Wow, so that love of God really freed you up and to talk to your dad and to face your fear and experience God's forgiveness.
Sure, it did.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. And yeah, we're going to go for a break now, but that's great. We'll come back to you. You're watching Spirit of Life. Stay tuned and we'll be back in a few minutes. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, and our guest is Fred Mawanda. He's been sharing about his faith journey and how he's been touched by God's love and has experienced God's forgiveness and freedom. Hello, Fred.
Hello,
welcome back.
Hello. Thank you, Geraldine.
Yes, before you were struggling with your faith, and now you've really grown in your faith and now have got involved in ministry.
Yes.
Tell us about your ministry.
Yeah, my involvement in ministry starts immediately after I leave university. At that time, there was only one university in Uganda, and I had to choose soon after university whether to stay in the main city or to go back to my home town, which is about 3 hours from the main city. So I chose to go back to my hometown. And that's where I got involved in ministry. And how I got involved was one day a nun came looking for me here. She had heard about me. I didn't know her, she didn't know me, but she knew my father. And so she asked about the son who had been to the university. And so she called me for one day to give a leadership seminar. I had never been to any leadership seminar. And this was to go to priests, seminarians, lay leaders, and nuns. And she left me a book to read, so on leadership. So I read and prepared for this course on leadership. And then that was my first course.
Wow, you really jumped into it.
I jumped into it. And then the priest who had been coordinating the charismatic renewal in Masaka Diocese and had been there for 30 years was transferred he had been in Uganda, missionary priest, and was transferred to Tanzania. And then they told me I was supposed to take over from him.
Oh, wow, from being silent and very quiet, suddenly you were giving talks.
Yes, that's how it has been happening.
And you just you just did it? Even were you fearful?
I was not fearful. I was in the situation and there was no alternative. And as I relied on what God says, at that time I'll give you the words. Okay, I have to do my preparation, but also to rely on God that He'll give me the right words at the right time. And so I ran this a leadership program, took over to be coordinator of the service team of the renewal,
Wow.
which I did for about 14 years.
Amazing.
And then our prayer group number increased. At that time, when I started, it was 6 prayer group in a diocese with about 1.2 million people,
Wow.
out of which is 1 million Catholics. And so our prayer group numbers increased from 6 to 40 in a period of 3 years.
That's great.
But I was doing this in between work. I had a full-time job as a forestry officer, project officer, working with the tree planting NGO all around Lake Victoria. And so on the weekends, I was always out in parishes, with youth, in schools,
Wow.
in universities. And I did that for about 10 years.
Amazing.
And then I felt that I needed to go back to study, do a master's degree to get a bigger salary, bigger money, bigger everything. And yet God had another plan for me further on in terms of ministry. So when I went back to university, I saw that young people were struggling with life, with sense of purpose, with self-esteem. And to be able to, I was concerned about this, and I thought, what is really the best way? And then I felt God was convicting me to do more than I had done before.
Wow. Even after full-time work, full-time ministry, more work.
more work regarding the young people, because in Uganda we have a population of 36 million people.
Yes.
But 65% are young people, 0 years to 18.
Wow.
So we have a very young population. And so I felt called to this particular group, and particularly to start with the university students, because they are the future leaders of the country. And so I left my job and then to fully focus on young people and to reach out to them, evangelize them, but also to raise up leaders, because the big African problem is really leadership. Leadership in society, leadership in church, leadership in business, leadership in family. So the bigger aspect of our youth work also has to do with training,
Raising leaders.
raising up a new generation of young leaders.
That's fantastic. Why are there so many young people in Uganda?
The birth rate in Uganda is high. The fertility rate is 6 children per woman.
Oh, I see.
And so in a family you'll find an average of 6 children. And so with this we find that we have many young people. We have had war, disease affecting us, but there's a high fertility rate in Uganda, and so we have lots of young people. Yeah.
Yes. And you've since you've come to Australia and you've been promoting your ministry, that you're going to start a school. What have you noticed the different people's responses to you as you're ministering and talking about your vision?
Yeah, I think what people here and also in Australia realize, one is that there are big differences. For example, we have primary school enrollment in Uganda, which is up to 94% of the school going age qualifies. But those who complete their primary school is only 37%. So the bigger number drops out because of lack of possibility to buy uniforms, pay for lunch, and scholastic materials. And here, for you, we have seen that your kids have a lunch, a break, and then
Yes.
a break tea, a snack and a morning snack and then an afternoon snack, and then they have assured about what to eat in the night. So we have a large dropout level
of students
in primary school, and out of the 37 that complete primary school, only 50% are able to
go further
to high school.
On that note, we need to go for a break, but it's really interesting what you're sharing. I'll be interested to hear more. You're watching Spirit of Life. We'll be going for a break now. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Fred Mawanda. He's been sharing about his faith journey and his work with youth in Uganda. Hello, Fred.
Hello, Geraldine.
Thank you so much for your sharing, especially about the education and how difficult it is for young people to go to school and those sort of things. Could you share more about that?
Yeah, I talked before that primary school enrollment is 94%, only 37% complete primary school. And out of the 37% who complete, only 50% of those are able to go to high school. And only 3% are able to attain vocational training or university training.
Is that because of money or?
There are two things. One is majorly financial problem to attain secondary school education. The second thing is there are not enough vocational or trade centers where people can acquire a trade or a skill which is practical. Many of them that are available now are theoretical or referring to training that is totally really
more academic.
Yes, it's more academic,
less technical.
Yeah, and so we need to be able to focus in that area and to be able to bring about a difference in what we are looking at as the Holy Trinity Children's College, which will take on children for primary school education and then secondary school education, but in the third level focus on trade development, skills development, vocational training.
So you already have a vision of first starting a primary school, then secondary, and then a vocational. Wow, you've really got vision, haven't you?
Yes.
Especially, it hasn't started, but you already got the dream.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot of people, you know, in our society are me, but you're living with a vision to make a difference. It's very inspiring.
Yes, somebody said that we can truly be happy if we live for a purpose that is greater than ourselves. And so that's what we are really living for, a purpose and a vision that is greater than ourselves.
Yes, and because you've got children, I mean, I know religious do this sort of work, but you've got a family already, and yet you're wanting to reach out to the whole community, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah. So how many children? You got 6, is that right?
No, 4.
4. That's
4
wonderful.
Children. One is 14 years. The second one is 12, the third one is 10 years, and the last one so far is 2.5 years old.
Yeah. Yes. And they hopefully will attend that college?
Yes, we hope they will attend that college, but maybe they will be already through primary school by the time we start. And so we have come to Australia to seek partnerships from individuals, from families, from corporations to partner with us to be able to establish this school.
Want support. But you were saying earlier on that that people have a sudden perception of Uganda.
Yeah. Many people, when you speak about Uganda, one, they remember Idi Amin.
Idi Amin.
Idi Amin, it is now more than 30 years since he was in Uganda. and he died already in Saudi Arabia, so he's not in Uganda. But the memories of Idi Amin were also brought alive by the film of The Last King of Scotland. And so some people think that this is still also true in Uganda. It's not true in Uganda.
I see.
And then the other misconception about Uganda was brought by Connie 2012. But Connie has left Uganda 10 years ago. And so Uganda is really a peaceful country. And the last misconception I've seen is really about the weather. People think Uganda is hotter than Australia, but Uganda is on the equator, but higher up. It's elevated 1,300 meters above sea level. We have an average temperature of 24 degrees centigrade.
Wow.
The highest reaches 31 degrees centigrade and the lowest 14 degrees centigrade. So we have a perfect climate.
For a holiday.
For holiday and also to do farming.
That's fantastic. And so, because I suppose in your school you're hoping for missionaries, people to come to Uganda to teach from Australia?
Yes, we look forward for people of different kinds of skill, builders, electricians, teachers, to be able to come and work with us to create the best that we can really be able to create for the glory of God and for the building of His kingdom here on earth.
Yes, and while they're teaching, they can also, and helping you, they can also have a holiday.
Yes, sure. We are having the 50% of the remaining population of gorillas in the world. It's in Uganda.
Wow.
Lions, tree climbing lions, elephants, giraffes, hippopotamus, and thousands of birds, different species, up to 700 different species.
Oh, definitely come. Because one of my visions is to, being a midwife, is to deliver a baby in Africa.
Yeah, that you are more than welcome. There is space to do this kind of work.
Yes, and I suppose you're also hoping to raise money to build a school? Or?
Yes, sure. We look forward to raising money, and people can really contact you on our behalf to be able to raise this money and support this cause.
That's fantastic. And so what stage are you all at? Have you got an idea of your building of your school and things like that? Yeah,
we have somebody who has offered to do the architectural work free of charge. But at this stage, we are really looking at buying the land. We are looking at buying 15 acres. And an acre costs $8,000 US. And so we think this will be enough. And we have planned it that it will be enough for both the primary, secondary, vocational, and also give place for the kids to be able to play. Several schools in Uganda don't have play premises for children, and so it's just academic.
All right, so it must be much needed.
Yes.
Yes, your sharing has been, very inspiring, and I'm sure a lot of people are praying for you, and we're hoping people will get involved. But and it's been lovely last week speaking to your wife and now yourself. So you are in our prayers, and goodbye and God bless, and maybe give us some progress report when you come out next.
Sure, I will be happy to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Join us again next week. Goodbye and God bless you.